Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful summer weekend last week. So some fun, not just business, but human skill conversation we're going to have today. So first is, and I talked about this about 3 years ago, how to have or how to be a better conversationalist so more people want to have a conversation with you. And this came right from TED Talks, presentation. So if you're interested in going back and seeing exactly what she says, this is a great, I think it's, I don't know how long it is, maybe 15 minutes long, 10 ways to have a better conversation. Fantastic presentation to watch, not just once, but over, put it in your calendar, watch it every 6 months or so. So getting down to, and here's the thing, guys, none of these things are going to be earth-shattering. None of these things are going to say, oh, I never even thought of that. They're things that we know, but we ignore. And it's the same thing I talk about with, the best football tacklers in the world are in the NFL. But what do they do? What are they going to be doing here in the next couple of weeks? Practicing tackling. Why? Not that they don't know how to tackle, but they lose the edge. They lose the skills. So you have to go back and revisit it and revisit it and revisit it and revisit it. And so this is just reminding us of the things that we know we should be doing, so you start doing them again. So first is, don't multitask. And guys, I am the worst. All these things, I'm the pot calling the kettle black. So here's the funny thing. If I've got a client in front of me that I'm trying to convert, guess how much I multitask? If I've got a client in front of me that I want to convert, guess how much I multitask? I don't. I am zeroed in. There is nothing, a nuclear bomb could go off and I would not hear it. But when I'm talking to somebody on the phone, whether it's family, friend, or whatever, I'm always tempted to do what while I'm talking on the phone? Check the news, check my emails, look out the window. Guys, when you're talking to somebody, you should be 100% focused. And for one thing, where should your cell phone be? I've listened to, like we said, I've listened to over 100,000 tapes in the last 23 years. Way too often I hear a freaking cell phone ring or chirp. Where should your cell phone be when you're meeting with a client? Should it be in your office? No. Get that thing out of your office. So do not multitask when you're having a conversation. When you're at a restaurant, guys, how many people have their freaking cell phones on the table? And what have they found out? Even if you have your cell phone in your pocket, does that affect you psychologically and mentally? Even if your cell phone is in your pocket, does it affect? What has research shown? What has science shown? Does it affect you? Yes. Because it's there. You're tuned in case there's a text or a beep or a chirp or a vibration. If you're having a conversation with somebody, leave that cell phone someplace else. Do not multitask. Number 2, don't pontificate. Again, I have a problem with this. I have a problem with this. Don't pontificate. Don't pontificate. I have a huge poster on my wall that says, does this need to be said? If it needs to be said, does it need to be said now? If it needs to be said now, does it need to be said by you? In other words, I should what? Shut up. Let the other person talk. Don't pontificate. Assume that the person you're listening to might know something you don't. Be open to what they want to talk about, not what you want to talk about. Number 3, use open-ended questions. This is the one thing that I don't have to call the pot calling the kettle black. This is all I do is ask open-ended questions. Don't think about your next comment. This is a huge, and this is the reason why when somebody gives me an objection, I say absolutely, and then start telling them why they're right. Because if I get into a situation where they give me an objection, I have to prevent myself from thinking about how I'm going to overcome that. And my way to do that is just say absolutely and gets me in the right mindset. Because when somebody's talking, should you be thinking about what you're going to say next? You know, it's funny. When somebody's telling you a story, maybe I'm the only one that does this. When somebody's telling you a story, guess what I'm doing? When somebody's telling me a story, guess what I'm doing? Listening to that story? No, I'm trying to think, well, hey, that happened to me. I can't wait for them to be quiet so I can share my story that relates to that. No. Be tuned in. The only thing you should be thinking about is what they are saying. If you don't know, say so. If you don't know, ask. You'll be a fool for the moment, but a wise man for the rest of your life. If you don't know something, ask. If you don't understand the point they're trying to make, ask. If you don't understand what they're saying, ask. Don't assume. Don't equate their experience with yours, which I was just talking about here, where if somebody tells me a story, guess what I want to do? One up the story. Tell them a story that I think even funnier or more insane or more entertaining than theirs. No. Don't equate their experience with theirs. Their experience is yours. And I see guys in the 5Q system do this because they'll want to, somebody will say, geez, we got back from vacation and this happened. And guess what the advisor wants to do? Well, let me tell you what happened to me. And we think that's developing what? Rapport. That's not developing rapport. What is the best way to develop rapport? What is the best way to develop rapport? Ask questions. Very good. Ask questions and listen. That's how you develop rapport. People think the best conversationalists are the ones that not talk, but listen to what they're talking about. Number 7, try not to repeat yourself, but make your point not 10 times. Now, I will both agree and disagree with this. So I agree that I should not make my point 10 times. What do I not agree with? I agree that I should not make my point 10 times. What needs to be changed in this conversation? Nick, very good. Now, when I'm using my script, do I have them tell me things 5, 6, 7 times? The same thing 5, 6, 7 times in different. Yes, that's what we do. So I will have. Now, why do I do that? Why do I have them tell me it 5, 6, 7 times? Because the more times they say it, the more likely what? It sticks. It sticks. Number 8, stay out of the weeds. People don't care about the details. People do not care about the details. And guess what advisors love to do? Go into details. Why? Why do advisors love to go into details? Why do advisors love to go into details? That's right, Andre. That's right, Tom. Because it makes them seem smart in their eyes. They think they're falling into the whole thing about, I am an expert. I'm an expert, so I'm going to show them how smart I am. No. You want to let the client be the smart person in the room, not you. Your job there is to facilitate so they can understand how things work. And they're not going to be able to understand them in great detail. I'm not going to go into this, but in the FIA presentation, in detail, right, with you now, but in the FIA presentation, do I go to have the client explain to me how an FIA can possibly give them market returns with no risk? That it's not some magical wand that we wave at the investment, but there's an actual logical explanation about how they can get market returns or near market returns with no risk. Do I have them explain to me how it works? Yes, I do. So when I'm going through, for example, how options work, the fact that the FIAs, the way they do this is they're going to take your principal, they're going to put it into a guaranteed investment like a bond, and then they're going to take the interest, and with the interest, they're going to buy options, which is then leveraged to the point that if the market goes up 5%, that option will go up 25%. But that's not applied to the whole 100% of the market, the whole 100% of the investment. It's only applied to the interest. So when you apply it to the whole investment, that's only going to give you a portion of what the market does. Now, is that exactly how FIAs work? Is that exactly how, or is it basically how they work? Is that exactly how they work or basically how they work? E for exact, B for basic. Which way? Yeah, it's basically how they work. But does that scratch the itch for a client to say, oh, I get it. I see how they can do that now. Yeah. In the interest rate volatility section of the 21-point checklist, when we go through the teeter-totter and show them how, when interest rates go up 1%, how that's going to affect the value of the bond, that is how it works. But is that how it works for every single bond, or is that how it works for a 30-year bond? Is that how it works for every single bond, or is that how it works just for a 30-year bond? It's the only that when interest rates go up 1% and it causes the value of the bond to go down by 30%, that's a 30-year bond, not a 10-year bond, not a 5, and it depends on the rating of the bond, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's not exactly how it works, but does it have them understand that, oh, I guess my bond is not safe unless I hold it till maturity? And do they understand that if my bonds are in a mutual fund or in an ETF, then they for sure are not safe, because there is no maturity to an ETF. There is no maturity to a mutual fund. So stay out of the details. Give them, and the nice thing is, are you required to come up with your own stories with a 5Q system? No, I've created them for you. They've been tested, not once, not 100 times, not 1,000 times, but tens and tens of thousands of times. It works. 100,000 times it works. If it doesn't work, contact us and we'll fix it. But they have worked for 22 years. And listen to what they're saying. Don't be so concerned about what you're going to say in the script. Don't be so concerned about one-upping them that you're not listening to what they're saying right now. Many times people are giving you buying signals. I've listened to so many tapes where people are giving the advisor buying signals, and the advisor completely misses it because he's more concerned about what he's going to say than what the client is saying. And be brief, focused, clear, and concise. So many people will look at our scripts and say, man, you're not being brief. You're not being concise. I think they'll agree I'm focused. But I think if we really tear apart our scripts, I will agree we're not being brief. But number one, are our scripts focused? Yay or nay? Y or N? Are the scripts focused? Y or N? Yeah. Are they clear? Is it clear that the client gets what we're saying? Yes. Are they concise? Did the client say exactly what we want them to? So it may not be brief, but they're concise. And here's the thing. Because we've tested these scripts tens and tens and tens of thousands of times over 2 decades and more, we know that we're saying the exact right amount to get 100% of people to leave their current advisor and move all their money to you. No more, no less. It's kind of funny because I actually have 7 other topics I could add to the 21-point checklist. So we could have a 28-point checklist if we wanted. And some of you guys kindly, I love it when you guys are out there with your eyes, your thinking cap on, and you say, hey, Mike, we could add this to the 21-point checklist. And I say, yeah, we could. I already have it in my folder that we could do that. But do we really want to add another thing to the 21-point checklist if the 21 things are getting 100% of people to leave their current advisor? No, we don't want it to be longer than it has to be. Now, why don't we shrink it to 15? Because then we're not going to close 100% of people. I found that those 21 topics are the right number. Any more, you're not getting anything, and you might start to lose people. Any less, you're missing some things, and you might start to lose some people. Not everybody, but some people. The 21 points is what gets 100% of people to leave their current advisor. So it's as brief as it can be. And if you think about it, to get somebody who's worked with their advisor for 10 years, well, I'll give you the example I use. To get somebody who is their son is their advisor to leave their son and move their money to me, is that the right? Then is that meeting basically a miracle? In an hour and a half, I get somebody who their son is their advisor to move all their money to me. That's a miracle. So in an hour and a half, get them to move their. And so if I can get people who their son is their advisor to move their money to me, you can get somebody who their best friend of 10 years has been their advisor, and we'll move money to you. So the scripts are as brief as they can be. I don't want to shorten them. I don't want to lengthen them. They've worked they've worked just as good yesterday as they worked 20 years ago. They worked just as good yesterday as they worked 25 years ago for me. In fact, the scripts are better now than what I used 25 years ago. So please, 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 all these things we're teaching you to do within the 21-point checklist, but these are things that you should be doing in everyday life. If you're doing them in everyday life, they're going to be so much easier to do in your clients. Make sense? So I want to talk about a skill that we touched on here a few weeks ago, but I want to emphasize it in a different way, and that is GOTS. So there's two times to use GOTS. One is to get on their side if they give some objection, with big objections, and small during conversations. Or we can get them to tell us. So here's the thing about these scripts that I've just told you are miracle producing scripts that will get people who are their son or their best friend of 10 years move all their money to you in after an hour and a half conversation. But how you do it is with open-ended questions. But if all you do is ask and I did this with Missy here 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you ask a question, 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 ask a question. Pretty soon, not even pretty soon, like very quickly, they're going to say, why are you drilling me? Why are you hitting me with a rubber hose? What are you driving at? Why are you asking me so many questions? So the way we get them to continue to answer those questions is to got them. To give them a little verbal pat on the back to tell them, oh, you're a genius. We ape them. We agree with them. We parrot what they say, and we empower them. And by doing that, we're saying, hey, I think just like you. I think just like you. So how do we get them to tell us things without getting defensive, without saying, why are you badgering me? Why are you asking me so many questions? What are you driving at? Why don't you just tell me? Well, and I'll give you an example of why this is important. Some guys will come on to the system and I say, I want you to practice these skills with your clients. And they're like, well, we don't have any clients. Or they give me all sorts of excuses. I say, well, then at least do it with your spouse. So they'll go back and practice these scripts with their spouse. And guess what their spouse says? Why are you badgering me? What's with all the questions? What are you driving at? So what's the difference between a spouse and a prospect? Well, does your spouse trust you? Well, at any point in your marriage, should your spouse trust you? Yes or no? Yes. Yes, they should. So let me give you an example. Let's say that my car or my wife's car is broken. Okay, so she says, hey, the car is not working. So I say, hey, honey, would you come out here? I want to show you something. Okay, and I open up the hood and look at the engine. I say, so Michelle, I mean, here's the engine, and these things here are called spark plugs. So why do you think they call them spark plugs? I don't know, because they make sparks. Yeah, they make sparks. And so they make sparks, and what do you think they spark? The gasoline, I guess? Yeah, you nailed it. The gasoline. And so if these aren't very clean, and what do you think happens? At this point, she's going to say, what the hell are you doing, Mike? The car's broken, fix it. I need to drive it tomorrow. So whatever you're doing, don't give me you're giving me the 9th degree here. Just fix the car. So is she going to want me to go through all of these questions so she understands why the car is broken, or does she just want it fixed? So give me a Q if she wants questions, or no, give me a U if she wants to understand, or give me an F if she just wants it fixed. Yeah, she just wants it fixed. She just wants it fixed. I don't care what's broken, just fix it. Now, let's say instead my daughter brings her car in to the mechanic, and she's suspicious of the mechanic because she thinks, that these mechanics, all they want to do is screw her. All they want to do is get as much money from her as possible. All they want to do is pretend like there's something wrong with the car that's not wrong. So if she distrusts that, because my wife trusts me, so she says, yeah, I get it. I trust you. I know you fixed the car before. I know you fixed the light before. I know you fixed the lawnmower before. Just fix the car. I trust you. Yes, do it. But if you don't trust the mechanic, and so my daughter goes in and says, hey, my car is fixed, what's broken? And the mechanic goes and opens it. Okay, let's makes sense. Let's take a look at this. Okay, here, first of all, just want you to understand what we're doing here and why this is broken here. See, these things are called spark plugs. So what do you think those are for? Well, to make sparks. Yeah, they make sparks, you got it, yeah. It's not rocket science. They're just called spark plugs, they make sparks. And we put something into our engine that makes it go, and that's what sparks. So what do you think these spark plugs spark? The gas. Yeah, the gas, and that makes the pistons go. And so sometimes, if we are, with all the forest fires and all this, we're sucking in all this stuff. And if you're sucking in smoke and stuff into an engine, guess what might start to happen? You're sucking all sorts of stuff that's not supposed to be in the air, and it's been sucked in the engine. Guess what might can happen? Well, it probably gets like gunked up. You gunked up, and if the engine's getting gunked up, guess what these little spark plugs are getting? Gunked up. Yeah, so what we need to do is go through, and we can either clean them or replace them. And here's the advantage of replacing them. You're starting out with the best thing possible. They're going to last you another 70,000 miles. But it's going to be a little bit more. So here's the thing, guys. Is my daughter getting upset with the mechanic for doing this? My wife got upset with me. Is my daughter getting upset with the mechanic for explaining what he's doing and why it needs to be done? Yay or nay? Because he's not explaining, he's having her explain to him what needs to be done. Is she getting upset? No, she's not getting upset. Very good, I like that. Informed control. So here's the thing. If you trust a person, yeah, just do it. Don't ask me a bunch of questions. But if you do not trust that person, you want to understand what's going on and why they're doing it. So how many prospects trust us? We went through this a few weeks ago. None of them. Why do prospects not trust us? Because if they follow our directions, we get paid. Any suggestion we make, we'll get paid on. Remember we talked about the emergency room surgeon versus the chiropractor. Emergency room surgeons we trust because, hey, do or do not do what they say, they get paid the same. But a chiropractor, the only way they get paid is if we follow their instructions. So we distrust the chiropractor a lot more than we distrust the emergency room surgeon. Now, it's the same thing with us. When they come in, they know that if they follow our recommendations, we're going to get paid for that. So they distrust us. So since they distrust us, it's more like my daughter talking to a mechanic. So are they going to be upset with us if I help them understand why they need to make change? If I have them say in their own words, they need to make change. No, they don't get upset. Does that make sense? That's why we do it. That's why we learn these scripts and have hour-and-a-half conversations and let them do all the talking. So if they're not answering these questions, what's the best? So I've had people say, Mike, they're not answering the questions. They're resistant to that. Remember we talked about the little script on how to overcome that script or overcome their reticence to answering questions here a few weeks ago, where I walked them through: is everybody the same? Is your time valuable? Do you want me to make assumptions? So if you're different from everybody else out there, the only way I'll know how you're different is if I what? Well, yeah. If you want something tailored, I need to know more about your life. I need to know more. If you don't want me to waste your time, do you want me to give you generic things or tailored? So remember that script I walked through and I showed you online where you can find that script. Well, but let's say that now you've done that, and it's not that they're not resisting you because they don't want to answer your questions. Let's say they're resisting, or they're not even resisting you. They just don't get it. They're having a hard time answering these questions. They're not following. These are topics that they're really having trouble grasping. How can we help people who don't get a concept? So we talked a few weeks ago about when the client's pushing back and they don't want to answer questions because they're being resistant. That's one type of person. But now today I want to talk about the person they just don't get it. This is not what they do for a living. It's not how their brain works. Do we just then go ahead and tell these people what to do, or is it still essential? Even if they don't get what we're talking about, even if don't have mathematical minds, analytical minds, finance-oriented minds, if they're really artistes, even if the most artistic person out there, am I going to just tell them what to do, or do I still have to walk through the process where they understand everything? I still have to walk through that process. So how do I get somebody that just doesn't get it to get it? We have to make the questions simpler. So how do we make the question simpler? Well, the simplest way we can do questions is
Mike, I think your headphone died. Sorry, guys. Hold on one second here. I think his headset went away. Guys, can you still hear me okay? Okay, good. I'm getting some yeses there. So, Mike, I think you just need to switch back to your regular phone from your headset. It sounds like it just died. Hold on one second, guys. Obviously, I'm trying to type to him here because he probably can't hear us. So. Sorry, guys. I'm not sure. I think he thinks that he's still talking to us. So I'm just trying to interrupt him. He doesn't normally look at his chats while he's obviously on the phone. So I think he's talking away, not realizing how come we're not answering him.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Jesus. Technology. You know what? You're talking to a 63-year-old man who doesn't know how to use technology. So now we'll go back to the true false. If I want them to say yes or if I want them to say, I say which direction would the market go, and they say I see the deer in the headlights where they can't see, they don't know what the right answer is. How can I, if I want them to say up, how can I get them to say that? I'd say something like, well, no, I get it. If I see the deer in the headlights syndrome, I'm going to say, oh, why would I even answer that? You're not in this business. How would you even, I apologize. That's my fault. There's no way you could even answer that. That's my fault. What a dingbat for asking that. Here, let's walk through this. So, guys, I take the fault if I know they're struggling to answer. I'd say, I follow them sort and I say, it's my fault. But then I still have to get them an answer. I'm not just going to tell them. I'm going to say, so let's take a look at this. If companies are making more profits, the profits are rolling in, people are buying more things, interest rates are lower. Let's see here. I'm going to do it this way. Can you hear me now? It might be more echoey. I'm not using the AirPods anymore. Can you hear me?
Nope, you're good. We can hear you.
Sorry, guys. You just have to put up with the tinny noise. So Missy, how much of the market going up did you get?
We got very little. I was.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, guys, if I ask a client which direction does the market go, and I get the deer in the headlight syndrome, they look at me like I don't know what the correct answer is. They don't want to answer and look stupid. So I fall on the sword. I say, I'm sorry. How would you be able to answer that question? What a dingbat for asking that question. That's my fault. I'm sorry. There's no way you'd be able to answer that question. I am so sorry. Here's what I was trying to ask. So again, I apologize. So guys, I fall on the sword and say it's my fault if they don't get it, which it is my fault if they don't get it. But I can't just move on. I gotta have them tell me what I need to tell me. So I'm going to go with revert back to asking easier questions. So I'm going to say use a true false. That's an easy way to get them moving in the right direction. I think so. Obviously, if the profits are rolling in, everybody's buying things, the economy's going great, inflation is low, the market's going to go up, right or wrong? And what will they say? They'll say, right. See, I've laid it out that they're going to give me the right answer there. Or I could say a more difficult, still easy, but more difficult would be, so if profits are rolling in, companies are making more money than they know what to do, if people are buying things, inflation is low, do you think the market's going to be going down? Or if all the profits are moving in or rolling in, the market's going to go up? So now I've given a match, down or up. And they're going to say up. They match the up. Does that make sense? Fill in the blank, I would say, so if profits are profits are rolling into companies, everybody's buying things, inflation is low. So what direction do you think the market's going to do? And see how I'm setting it up? They're going to fill in the blank. Multiple choice, I'm going to say, profits are rolling for a company. People are buying things hand over fist. Inflation is low. Everybody's employed. Do you think the market's going to go up, go down, or do nothing? Well, it's going to go up. So I have multiple choice. It's a little bit harder. I've thrown an extra choice in there. Think about these when you're in high school. What was of 1, 2, 3, or 4? What was the hardest, what was the easiest test that you ever had? If you get a true, false, a matching, fill in the blank, or multiple choice, what's your easiest test? With number 1, 2, 3, or 4? Yeah, number 1. What was your second most easiest test? 1, 2, 3, or 4? What was the second most easiest? No, number 1 is the easiest. What's the second most easiest? 2. Third most easiest? Probably multiple choice. Fourth most easiest. Fill in the blank. What's the hardest question to ask? Essay. Essay. So I can still get them to do an essay, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask them all these questions here. Because when I said, what direction do you think the market's going to go, they look at me as a deer in the headlights. I apologize for asking them a hard question. Tell them it's my fault. It's not their fault that they don't know. It's my fault. I shouldn't have, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm going to ask them a true, false question, a matching question, a fill in the blank question, multiple choice. So I say, do you think that if the profits are rolling in, people are buying things, inflation's low, everybody's employed, the market's going to go up, right or wrong? Well, it's going to go up. Yeah. So if all those things are happening, which direction is the market going to go? It's going to go up or down? It's going to go up. Yeah, the market's going to do what? It's going to go up. See that? So what direction, with everything going on right now, we can talk about everything with the interest rates, everything with the employment, everything with profitability company, what direction do you think the market's going to go? What are they going to tell me? It's the same question I asked before I did the true, false, matching, fill in the blank, multiple choice. But by then, following up with an essay question, and think about how your teacher did that. Oh, I keep walking away from the phone. Sorry, you probably hear me going in and out. So think about how your tests in high school were. Did they start out with an essay question, or was the essay question at the very end of the test? Was it at the beginning, B, or at the end, E, of your test for history or science or whatever? It was at the end. So why did they do that? They were prompting your brain by answering. If you went back and looked at that test, basically all the true, false, matching, fill in the blank, and multiple choice questions that you asked or answered were prepping you, giving you the information you needed to do the essay question. Does that make sense? But the essay question is proving train of thought, right? The essay question is proving that you can connect all those pieces of data into a coherent thought. Does that make sense? So that's how you do it. If they can't tell you why something's working, they don't know it. So where do you start? You need to know what you want them to say. If I don't know exactly what I want you to say, there's no way I can get you to say that. The nice thing is, have we given you, with the 21-point checklist and with the FIA presentation, exactly what you want the client to say? Do you know what you want the client to say at the end of every question we ask? With both the 21-point checklist and the FIA presentation. Yes. In fact, in the FIA presentation, or in the 21-point checklist, we told you the motive. They need to say this particular thing, or you cannot move on to the next item. So we've told you. So we've done all the work for you. You should know what you want them to say, very, very specifically. The more vague you are about what you want them to say, the more difficult it's going to be to get them to say it. The more clear in your mind of what you want to say, the clearer it's going to be on what you have to ask them. So the technique, let them finish my sentences, end sentences with what? Ridiculous or exaggeration. Ridiculous exaggeration. So what I do there is we do that, for example, with the asset allocation. And I say, so folks, we've got this bell curve. So 10% of people, they're going to be the kind of people who take their money, their Social Security check, they're going to go put it into gold, and then they're going to bury the gold in the backyard and put a tough shed right on top of it. Those are the conservatives. And they got 10% of people will take that Social Security check, they're going to go down in the casino, they're going to put it on red, and they're going to gamble it and hope to double it. And if they lose it, they guess what it is. So you got these people that are wild and crazy, you got these people stick in the mud conservative, and then you get people in the middle. Where are you? So guys, will anybody choose the 10% wild and crazy and 10% stick in the mud? No. By me making it ridiculous to be part of those two, everybody's going to choose what? No, I'm somewhere in the middle. So I've forced them into the question by realizing, you know what? I guess I'm not that conservative. I guess I'm not that wild. I must be in the middle. If we did not do that, would there be some people? If I said, so would you consider yourself more aggressive, more conservative, or somewhere in the middle? If I just did it that way, would we have people say I'm really conservative, and would we have some people say? Most people would say in the middle, but would we have some people say I'm conservative, and some people say I'm aggressive? Would some people say that if that's all I have? Would you consider yourself more aggressive, more in the middle, or more conservative? Would we have some people say I'm a little more aggressive, I'm a little more conservative? Yes, they would. I don't want them to say that. So I make the question, I illustrate what I want them to answer by making the questions I don't, or the answers I don't want, sound ridiculous. Does that make sense? Talk in a language where they can predict what you're going to say. Tell and retell. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say somebody did not know the story of Jack and Jill went up the hill. They didn't know that. Could I make them tell me that story? Could I make them tell me that story? Yes. One of the ways to do it is tell and retell. So I'd say, so Missy, can you get on here a second?
Yep, I'm on here.
Okay, so you do not know this story, but I'm going to make you tell it to me. Because if I tell you it, you may forget it. If you tell me, how much longer will you remember it if you tell me the story?
I'll remember it a lot longer.
Yeah. So I say, so Missy, there was these two children. They were named Jack and they were named Jill. So what do you think the boy's name was?
Jack.
And what do you think the girl's name was?
Jill.
Yeah, and they lived on a farm and they had no running water. So guess what they had to do every day?
They had to carry their water.
They had to carry their water. There's no running water in the house. What's mom and dad going to tell them their duty is every day? You go out and get what?
Go get some water and bring it back to us.
And in the olden days, what did they carry water in?
They had to get a bucket.
A bucket. Yes, they got a bucket. So the two kids named what?
Jack and Jill.
Yeah. Now you'd think if you're in a farm and the farm is in hilly country, would you want the bottom of the hill or the top of the hill?
Probably at the top of the hill.
Where would you, if you want, but if it was going to be hard, where would you rather it be, top or the bottom of the hill?
At the bottom.
Yeah. Unfortunately for these two kids, guess where unfortunately, like you first said, guess where the well was?
It was at the top of the hill.
Yeah. So these two kids named what?
Jack and Jill.
Guess where they had to go? Down the hill or up the hill?
Well, they would have had to go up the hill then, I guess.
And why were they going up the hill?
Because they needed to get their family some water.
To get their family some water. Now, carrying these two kids, they're not really old. So going down the hill with a heavy bucket of water, guess what can tend to happen at times?
Oh, they could fall. They could.
Yeah, they could fall.
Spill it.
So on the way down, Jack, guess what he did?
Tripped.
He hit a rock with his toe, and guess what he did?
Dumped the water.
And guess what he did? The water went down, but guess what he did?
He fell too.
He fell too, and then poor Jill, she was chasing after him. And when she was chasing after him, she's even younger than him. Guess what happened to her too?
Oh, she probably fell too.
Yeah, she fell too. So these two kids, named who,
Jack and Jill,
did what in the morning?
they went up the hill to
To
fetch
get
some
what?
water, to get some
Yeah,
water.
and then unfortunately, on the way down, what happened to both of them?
They both fell down.
And poor Jack, his head, guess what?
Hit his head on,
Yep,
and he was
he hit his
falling
head.
down.
Yeah. So, what's the moral of that? So, guys, what's the likelihood Missy's going to remember that story a day from now? If I just said, hey Missy, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, Jack fell down, broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. What's the likelihood? She's never heard that before. What's the likelihood of her remembering it a day from now? Very, very low. What's the chance of her remembering this story now that I've had her tell it to me? High. So did I tell her the story, or did I coax her through using all these different techniques, her to tell me the story? So again, I'm showing you how we can do this, but have we done this for you? Yes, we have in all of the scripts. So it's just like overcoming objections. I said, you can learn how to overcome the objections because that's a high level skill, or you can learn the scripts so the objections never come up. It's just like getting them to tell you, well, you can either learn and become excellent at these high level techniques, or just learn the scripts. So you've got 1 month, you got August left, or August and 1 week before we hit our next busy season. What should you be doing for 1 month and 1 week? In my humble opinion, what should you invest 100% of your time doing in the next 1 month and 1 week? So that you don't have to learn how to overcome objections, so that you don't have to learn these skills of having people tell you stories. What do you think I'm going to recommend you be doing in the next month and a week? Learn the scripts that we've come up for you so you don't have to learn to overcome objections, because then they won't come up. Learn the scripts that have been tested for over 2 decades, 100,000 times, and they work every single time when you do them the way they're laid out. And you won't have to learn to tell stories because we've done that for you. Make sense? But if you get stuck, this is how you do it. You go back to you follow the sword. If they don't get what you're saying, apologize. It's your fault. Make sure they understand it's your fault. It's not that they're dumb. It's that you asked the dumb question. And then you go back and ask easier questions, true, false, matching, fill in the blank, multiple choice, or use some of these techniques. Let them finish your sentences, end with the word what, ridiculous, exaggerating suggestion, talk in a language where they can predict what I'm going to say, tell and retell like I just did with the Jack and Jill story. You can do those as well. But the easiest, it seems like spending hours and hours becoming great at the skill would be far better off just learning the scripts. Make sense? Super. That's all I got to cover today. I hope, do you guys mind if we go a deep dive into the skills like this? Even though I'm saying learn the script, I'm showing you the skills to show that it can be done, but I want more emphasis on, hey, you need to learn the script and you don't need to learn these high level skills. Okay? Awesome. Then you guys have a great rest of the week, and I'll figure out how to use my AirPods between now and next weekend. We'll have another good call. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Bye-bye.